see if this is on. Okay. Well, hello, everyone. So now I've got a tough act to follow. I've got to follow Michael and Mick, and they have beautiful slides, and I do not. So bear with me, but now I have slide envy. I was telling them earlier. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to follow up on some of the themes and trends that you've already heard and really position why the website is this strategic platform and this infrastructure. And I think you're starting to see the message that this is beyond just web publishing. This is beyond just editing content, simple publishing pages. This is a web channel. This is a living, breathing, two-direction communication with your customers. And the benefits are very clear. What I'm going to try and focus on a little bit today is what has changed, some of the drivers that have caused this, because we have to go back and sell this. And I think it will really help to understand what has really changed fundamentally from a market force standpoint, what's different now than ever was before, and help give us some tools to help you understand that, and maybe some actionable ideas and items that you can do to go back and just try stuff. You have a lot of the technology at your fingertips right now. So what can you do with it right now, and what are some of the activities that you can take away from this? So let's just start by stating a little bit of what Michael said earlier about just the channels, the proliferation of channels, right? You know, in the 70s, you know, the guy in the train, you know, hanging loose was great. We just sat in the train and enjoyed ourselves, the solitude. But now we have so many channels. You know, if you look at the array of channels that we have to operate across, it's staggering. And if you look at the marketing mix, it's a little paralyzing. Where do I start? What do I do? And I think the challenge is that the customers have really evolved. The sophistication of our customers have really changed. They know more about you than you want them to. They can go online and learn so much about you. And the power in the equation between you and a customer, and I'm using the word customer very generically today. You could be a government entity that has constituents. You can be a nonprofit organization that has members or donors. You can be a company with an employee intranet, and those employees are your customers. So I'm going to use that very loosely. But in the control of organization to consumer or user member, the power paradigm has really shifted to that individual user. And it's happened because of a lot of market forces, particularly a lot of the Web 2.0, the explosion of information, and the easy access to that information. They can learn about you in a minute. And their expectations, because of the channels, have grown. So they expect to get these rich experiences, the consumerization that Mick has talked to, and what they expect they can get from you is much, much higher. So they're seeking to qualify you now. They're seeking that new employee that just came out of university and has seen all these great tools and these great innovations, and then they hit your company. And you've got an intranet circa 2001. And they're like, what is this? Because I can get way more online by one of these free services. The expectations have risen to the point where they're now qualifying you. Their expectations are higher. And we still see that of all those markets and all those channels and all those things that we should be doing as an organization, the two most important ones still remain the web and email. The number one, this is a piece of research that was done by Aberdeen. They surveyed, I believe, 400 companies. And they rated the effectiveness of the different ways they engage with their customers and their constituents. And then resoundingly, you know, by a long lead, the web is still the most important channel. However, we are still underperforming. This is a piece of research done by Forrester. They've been ranking and rating large websites for the last 8 to 10 years. And they do these exhaustive engagements where they look at the usability and the engagement and the customer satisfaction. And you can see here that there's this line that's the pass-fail line. You know, for us back when we were in school, right, that was failing. And that pass, there's a lot more people on the fail side of that line than on the success pass side of that line. So that tells us that this channel, this utterly important channel that we've got, is not delivering on what it should be delivering. Now, you can kind of understand why that's true. If you kind of think back to what Mick said and how we tend to attack these problems, We don't put marketing in a room as an example for a public-facing website. We think we know if you're an IT person. Now, I don't want to pick on the IT folks, because on the marketing side, we create our own problems too, in terms of being fairly undisciplined and not really knowing exactly what we want, which drives the IT people crazy. Last year, if you were here, I talked a lot about marketing and IT teaming together and how to bring those two people in a room and how to get them to talk a similar language. It's been a challenge, but the result is the most important channel we have with all of our customers is failing, is underperforming. That's also a little bit true that we tend to think about the web as a collection of simple web pages and a simple experience, and we haven't really thought about the web as this web channel that Michael has alluded to and Mick has talked about. So what does this all mean? And what is this idea of the strategy, this customer engagement strategy that you should have? What is it that we should be doing in terms of helping understand this? If these people know a lot about us before they ever come to our front door, our website, then what do we want to do with them? What should we be doing? What should we be figuring out? We should be learning about them. We should be understanding them. We should be figuring out what their issues are today. If you're government and you're trying to service your customer, what is it they want? And quickly identifying that stuff. The classic example that Michael talked about with the dishwasher, beating someone over the head. Would you like to buy a dishwasher? Would you like to buy a dishwasher? Understanding and perceiving is very, very important. So engaging them early, engaging them often, and continuously across this interaction. And then, of course, making the other channels align to this very important channel. It doesn't matter if you sell. I've heard the term e-commerce a bunch of times this morning. And I don't want you to think about the term e-commerce as online transacting only, because the web is a critical touch point, even if you don't buy a car online. For those of you who have a car, you probably didn't buy it online. You probably went to a dealership, but you researched it, you experienced it, you touched it, you thought about it, you spent a lot of time dreaming about it. And that experience should be threaded into the offline buying process and how you actually engage with that company. So think about this from what you can learn from your customer about your customer, and think about how you can engage them earlier, because now that they know all this stuff about you, the equation is very unbalanced. You are coming into this at a very disadvantaged situation. This is also true in the internet, by the way. In fact, you're better off in the internet because you know who these people are. You know what department they work in. And you can be servicing them better. You can be delivering the right sets of services to them based on the current task and the kinds of things they want to use. So there's this new customer engagement model because this balance is changed and they're qualifying you. What do you need to do? They're interested in solving their problems. They're not interested in your products. They're interested in what their problems are, what's in it for me from their perspective. So how do you figure that out? How do you understand what do they want? And the other thing is, if you are actually selling to a consumer or a business, people don't buy products. They buy business outcomes. The classic analogy I heard that I fell in love with was when you go to a paint store and you're going to paint a room in your house or your apartment, you're not buying a can of paint. You're buying a different color wall. That's what you want. That's the outcome you seek. And I think in a lot of ways, the web is the same thing. People come to our websites because they want to learn about us and they want to solve a problem, and we want to sell them products and we want to get them to do something, or a service. We're trying to sell them that. If it's a government entity, you're trying to get them to the right service and get them to consume the right service and maybe the least cost channel. You don't want them going into the office. The healthcare example, we'd rather not have them go into the emergency room or the clinic. We'd much rather have them self-diagnose and spend some time, figuring it out. When the swine flu hit, some good music. I need a ringtone like that. But the idea here is to start to figure that stuff out. And a long ringtone, wow. But just remember, the balance has changed because of all of this information that's available, and they are qualifying you.